I'm going to use this fall sign from the Dollar Tree Plus section and this gingerbread man that I cut out of cardboard to make a sweet holiday sign. The first thing that I'm going to do is cover over that design with some truffle chalk paint. I'm going to go a little heavier where the design is and then leave it a little bit feathered around the edges. And you want to make sure that is really good and dry before you go on to the next step. Once that's dry, I'm going to use this lacquer colored chalk paint by Waverly, and I'm going to just start dry brushing it onto my board. Now I don't want a super thick coverage, but I do want my board to be mostly red. Then I'm going to take this mini sander and go around the corners and the edges. I want it to define the edges and look a little worn in the corners. And then to finish that off, I'm going to use this antique wax by Waverly. I'm going to brush on a coat, and then I'm going to use this wet wipe to wipe it back off. I just want to kind of give the appearance of some weathered, worn, vintage look. Using that wet wipe to wipe back off some of the wax is going to give me those nice streaks and the brighter spots as well. Now I'm going to work on my gingerbread man. I want to kind of just tatter and tear the edges of the hands, the feet, and the top of the head so that you can see the corrugation, and it just looks a little kind of torn and peeled back. I just think it gives it some nice interest. And then I'm going to paint it with some caramel colored acrylic paint. And once that's dry, I'm going to go around the edges and in the grooves of the corrugation with some of the antique wax. Now here, I do wish that I would have gone over the middle a little bit. You'll see me do that later, but it would have been a lot easier if I would have just done it at this step. And now I have some white puff paint. I'm going to use it to decorate my gingerbread. I'm going to give him a couple of eyes. I didn't like the way that first eye came out, so I'm redoing it. And then a little smile. And then I'm going to use it to make the little squiggly lines around the arms and the legs. And I didn't get it on camera, but as soon as I finished this part, I ended up knocking over my bottle of paint, and it rolled all the way across my gingerbread man, and I had to redo everything. I just wanted to share that so that you guys know that we mess up too. And then for his tummy, I have these little red berries. I'm going to cut the bottom to make it flat, and then I'm going to glue it down the center as his little like red hot buttons. Now for my bow, I have these 2 squares of burlap, about 5.5 inches, a strip of red velvet, red and white striped, a couple strips of burlap ribbon, and this pretty flannel that I got from Hobby Lobby, and also this greenery. And I'm going to use this leftover wax on my wet wipe to grunge up my ribbon a little. Now that I have all my pieces together, I'm going to use my Bowdabra bow maker. I get a lot of questions about what this is, so that's what it's called. I'm going to start by putting those bigger burlap pieces in, and then I'm going to just start layering my strips of fabric in. These strips are about 5 inches long, and I'm just going to lay them in the same pattern about 3 times so that my bow is nice and full. And then as I get to the top of my bow, I'm going to layer in some of this greenery. And I know how intimidating bows can be, but it's really just as simple as layering these strips on top of each other. And if you change your mind, just pull them back off like I do here. I wanted to add in some more greenery and really finish that off on top with that pretty Christmas plaid flannel. And now I have my layers all secure. I'm just tying it, cinching it really tight in the middle with this string, and then you just start fluffing it out, pulling the little strips apart. You can cut your ends so that you can see the colors in the way that you want to see them. I'm going to also cut bits of my greenery to make sure that it's the right length. You can even kind of pull your ends back and forth if you need to change kind of the length of some of the strips on the side. A lot of times with these messy bows like this, you just kind of play with it and move parts around until you get it to look how you want it to look. There's really no right or wrong way. That's why I love them so much. I think that looks about right, so now let's work on our tag. I'm using this brown Stays On ink, and I'm going to stamp out the word sweet onto this paper craft tag. And then I'm going to tatter the edges, crumple it up, and use my ink pad to go around the edges, and then my little brush to kind of rub on some ink across the top as well. And now it's time to start putting things together. I'm going to staple my bow on to make sure that it stays nice and secure. And I want to put that on first so that I can see where I want to put my gingerbread man. And you can see here is where I decided to add a little more antique wax down the middle. I just thought it looked a little bit too bright for the rest of my project, but it definitely would have been easier to do that first. And then I'm just gluing it down. Now I have these little peppermints I painted, and I am going to share a tutorial on that separately, and these little white puffy snowflakes that I got from Dollar Tree. I went ahead and laid them out where I wanted them to be, and I'm using a little bit of E6000 and some hot glue to glue each piece on. I got this mini spoon from Hobby Lobby, and so I'm going to wrap my tag around it just a little bit. Then I'm going to glue that and a peppermint to the top of my bow. And here's my finished project. I do think the red dried a little darker than I would have liked, but overall I think he really turned out super cute. And I had no idea it was National Gingerbread Day when I planned to make this project for today. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I know it was a little bit longer, but I had so much to pack in here. If you loved it, let me know in the comments, and it would help me out so much if you could share it around. Have a blessed day and a happy Thanksgiving.